through the conversion math on AMC. And in my last video, I mentioned this kind of quickly, that the conversion ratio is a little bit hard to figure out precisely what's going on. And I think in the comments section, I got a sense that there's confusion for other people, or alternatively, it just didn't make sense what I said. I also want to mention that one person mentioned that their broker dealer went ahead and adjusted their cost basis. If you have a broker dealer that did that to either one of your shares, you need to that definitely should not have happened. My shares on the APE side have not in any way, shape, or form been adjusted for cost basis. And if you get anything from your broker dealer that explains why they might have done that, I would be very interested to see it. It is the case that the way that the preferred shares are structured are very non-traditional, but nothing was voted on yet. And so if a broker is actually doing something wrong or something different, that I'm always interested to find out about. Now I'm going to go through. Hey guys, happy Chinese New Year's. I'm getting some really fun chat stuff here, but I'll try to. So I've got a little bit of presentation prepared. And then I also want to show you guys exactly where you can find these documents. I really think that it's almost unfortunate that the way that it's written is so unclear. So I'm going to talk about exactly what I'm looking at, exactly what it implies, and then the things that are unclear. And I'm hoping that even if AMC is looking at this video, I like maybe in my dream, occasionally Mr. Aaron looks at my videos. This is what I need to see as a shareholder to be able to correctly vote on the conversion. Okay. So first and foremost, let me show you where all these documents are coming from. And then I'm going to actually demonstrate how to think about it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So it's the first tab. Okay. So first, when you go to the AMC website, you should get their SEC filings. Okay. So this is just, you get to the SEC filings through financial performance, and then this little thing here that's SEC filings, and it should take you to a screen that looks like this. And the two documents that you want to, you would look at the prospectus filed pursuant to Rule 424B5. That's for shelf filings of this. This prospectus matches this automatic shelf registration statement that was filed on 8/4. The one on 8/4 is provided to all potential affected shareholders. And so it matches the prospectus, which is the final thing that after everything closed is the official prospectus to shareholders describing what happened as relates to the conversion. And so all of the stuff that I'm taking is from there. Okay. And so, the AMC averages might have changed on the initial conversion, but it should not have changed at all because of the stuff that happened in December. Okay. So that, you please go to your broker dealer and feel free to my Twitter or you can get me on Twitter at Markets with May. I'm happy to look at documentations, because I will say this. The key thing with stocks a lot of times is just understanding all of the jargon. And I do think that because this financing is a bit complex, it is a little bit not straightforward to figure out what exactly is the ratio on the conversions, that sort of thing. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen, but those are the two documents. And because the document for it's the prospectus that I'm going to be doing page numbers from. I will not be doing page numbers from the shelf registration, but they should approximately be the same. Dante, look, I know that you are passionate about Philip Lauder's daughter. I will take a second at the end to talk about it, but really I'm not ever going to be interested in that, because I think it's actually kind of silly that you guys are going into it that way, but that is what it is. Okay. I only care about the stocks. All the other stuff that's on Uniswap, it's given how it's structured, it should be irrelevant to the stock. I'm just going to say it once, and then that is what it is. And Like, I actually find it slightly offensive that you guys are attacking the woman for trying to have a career in finance. So that's where I stand on that. If that offends any one of the 51 of you guys that are watching right now, I'm sorry. It's really hard for me to to watch people attack a woman without any actual substantiation, who has actually had a pretty decent career and has worked really hard for everything she has. So stop attacking women unless you've got something real to say to me. I find it offensive. Okay, now let's get into actually what I did want to prepare for today. Sorry. And that is, I'm going to go through exactly where you can find the conversion stuff, the stuff I know and the stuff I don't know. Okay, here it is. Okay, page 18. A lot of folks got very confused on the conversion itself and how to think about it. And what I want to talk about is that with AMC preferred equity units, there was a lot of confusion at first for people saying that you only have 1/100th or something. This is very clearly stated in both of those documents, but on the prospectus, page 18 will state it once again. And this is what it says in red. I'll read it. The preferred equity unit represents an interest in 1/100th of the preferred stock, and upon conversion, one preferred stock is convertible into 100 shares of Class A common stock. Now, let me actually show you more clearly via this. This is what that means on page 18. And I think where people got confused and what people don't realize is how complex this structure actually is. There are actually two structures that happened when he created this in August. There was a preferred stock unit, and then there was the APE units themselves. So the AMC units, 100 AMC units, 100 AMC shares is equal to one preferred stock, and the preferred stock does not trade on exchange. And then one preferred stock is equal to 100 APE units. That does trade. That's what you're seeing on the exchange. And so from that math, you get 100 AMC units equals 100 APE units. Okay, that, if nothing else happened, is what it is. Okay, it should just be 1-for-1, and that should be everything else. Okay, cool. Then the second thing that you kind of want to look at is this page. Page 25, I am really not happy with them on because this is where they deserve all the criticism in the world. And honestly, if anyone from AMC is watching this, I will happily freeze my positions, and you can I'll just take a consulting fee, because you can never produce math like this for shareholders again. It's like so unacceptable in my opinion, but at the same time, it kind of is what it is at this point. And the reason it's really unacceptable in my opinion is because it addresses only the conversion ratio at the moment that the shares were issued. Given that the APE shares were always supposed to be something as a fundraiser, they should have absolutely made it crystal clear to shareholders what would happen as the APE units got diluted. And it is impossible from this math to figure that out. It is very frustrating for me that this was put into the prospectus and no one caught it. So I will go ahead. I never say negative things. I'm usually very generous and sweet about this stuff. But honestly, on this one, AMC, you guys, seriously, when you go to give the share, when the board votes and presents to shareholders what they're actually going to vote on as relates to conversion, this needs to be significantly better. Now I'm going to show you two things that this could mean, and why, for me, even though I still think the APE shares in both possible options of how you could in a million years interpret this, it still tells you that the APE shares are slightly undervalued relative to the AMC shares. And it gives you a sense for how much more dilution the APE shares could take and still be undervalued relative to the AMC shares. I'm going to do that math for you guys so you can see it clearly. And if someone disagrees with me on the math, I would be intrigued to see your math. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all, and possibly there's another way to do this math. But this conversion ratio tells you donut about what the APE to AMC stuff should be, given that you did, in fact, go ahead and do the thing that APE shares were supposed to do, which is issue more shares to help fund the company. So now let's go to the next slide that I have. Okay, the key thing then becomes, in order to do any kind of conversion or even to think about conversion, you have to get a sense for how many shares were issued, how many APE units came out in the fundraiser. And I said this in the last video, but I could tell it just created utter confusion. So now I'm going to really clarify the only things that I was able to find. If you were able to find more, again, like I said, Teamwork makes the dream work, AMC apes. You know what I'm saying? But there were two press releases, and it's unclear to me whether or not they were fully connected or what have you. So I'm going to take them in the most conservative way, which is to assume everything was diluted on the ape shares a particular way. But the press release, which you will also find in the news releases on AMC, relating to Antara on the 22nd, indicated the 60 million ape units and 106.6 million ape units in two tranches. Okay, so there's two places there, and then the 19th, on the 19th, they write this in the release. So this is the two press releases. The second press release, the earlier press release, says through the sale of 125.9. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that's three numbers that I have to add together. And when I go to do that, it looks like this. Oops. Yeah, it looks like this. 125, 60, 106 equals 292.5 million additional ape units for a total of 809.4 million ape units outstanding, or 56% dilution. I'm not done yet, though, guys. So this is kind of a relevant thing. Okay. Oh, sorry. You know what? I skipped this. On page 13, this is also the extent of what they're saying. This also further clarifies what's going on with the issuance. So you can see very clearly the math that I showed you earlier, which is one preferred stock goes to 100 ape units, corresponds with what's said on page 13, which is there are 51 million that there are, the issuance of 516 million ape preferred units. The only way that the ape preferred units match the other AMC shares is if that preferred stock in the middle is actually doing that 100-for-1 conversion. Okay, so hopefully that clarifies it. But those are the pages, page 18, page 13, and page 25 are all you get for understanding the conversion. Okay, sorry, back to our story. This is 516 million shares that came out from that page 13. And then the total new issuance that we saw in the two press releases was 292, meaning they diluted the ape units 800 and they're by 56%, 809.4. Okay, here's the part that I don't understand. Here's the part that I do not understand from the way it's written. And so, given what, if there's somebody else that knows something more, I'm very open-minded to it. But that would imply the following two possible ways of thinking about the preferred stock conversion that sits in the middle. And that would be this. Option one is that he truly meant it when he said that ape was going to absorb all the dilution. If that's the case, then ape absorbs all of the dilution. And that should look like this. 156 ape units now equals one AMC preferred stock. And then when you do the math, 0.64 ape units equals one AMC stock. Okay? I'll get to what that implies for a price perspective. The one that everybody is at arms with is option two. And that is where you've maintained every single, there's no, like, the conversion just happens and the dilution goes straight through, meaning it's still the case that 100 AMC prefer, or one, sorry, let me say it again. I'll just write it down because sometimes it's easier to just write down. Sorry, guys. I should have done it this way to make it easier for you to see. Okay. In the second case, if it is the case that these still two maintain just that 1 to 100 and then back, then you end up with diluting both ape and AMC. Okay? Hopefully that made sense. So if ape absorbs all the dilution, then really, when you do the reverse conversion, nothing should happen except that the ape shareholders will finally have to have the mark on the dilution. Now, before you get too excited by the words, the ape shareholders will finally get the mark, realize that the whole reason that I did the first video on December 6th was because the dilution was, in my opinion, more than accounted for by the discount between ape and AMC. So if I actually showed you that, this is what that looks like. Given where ape is trading trading at $1.74 and AMC at 5.52, it would imply a 300% dilution, 3.17 to 1 versus 1.5, I'm sorry, a 217% of dilution is really the way to think it. But the ratio would be 3.17 versus 1.56, meaning that APE shares should be at $3.53, even if in the case where APE shareholders were supposed to absorb all of the dilution. Okay. And that is really the math that I understand it to be, which is why I keep saying I want to support the AMC shareholders by owning the APE. When I started to read more deeply because of all the questions you guys posted, it was unclear to me whether the way that the dilution was happening was option 2 or option 1. Option 2, at first, I didn't even realize was a possibility, but then it occurred to me that that might be why people were getting so mad. I think it's option 1, which means I still get diluted like crazy as an AMC shareholder, but but I still have that upside spread between 174 and 353. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that it could be is if you guys decide, like as AMC shareholders, look, I can tell you how I want to vote all day long. And you should absolutely do your own work and decide for yourself how you want to vote. And it is still the case that you guys could vote not to convert the APE back into AMC. But that also means that I have a buffer of like a lot of new issuance of APE shares, because to get to the spread that's going on right now. In other words, if you think about it, he didn't double the number of APE shares, right? A double would have been 552 divided by 2, and I still have a price that's above $1.74. So I still could absorb a lot of dilution. And now that the shorts have stopped just trying to get APE to go to zero, there you actually can fundraise a little better. Now, I know for a lot of you, you still might be kind of mad because basically you feel like it shouldn't have ever traded down to 174 and you own it much higher. Okay, I get that. I don't have, as you guys know, many comments as relates to a MOAS or anything like that. So, but I will say that even if he further dilutes, even if you guys decide and collectively the shareholders decide to vote against it, there's still plenty of buffer for dilution. And hopefully that made sense. I'm going to stop my presentation and try to take a couple of questions, but it is Chinese New Year's, guys, so go easy on me. I can't go for too late. Let's see. For me, it's better to see the proxy doc first than explanation. Now it will be guess. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Feel free to, like, this is a live cast and it will be available for replay. So I showed you what the page numbers and the documents and where you can find them. So yeah, 100% encourage you to review that yourself. Listen to my explanation, see if it makes sense. Take my explanation to your broker if you need to and see if they can tell you that I'm wrong, which I have no problem with another professional weighing in, okay, or something like that. It's like, that's not my MO. Okay. AA doesn't even admit there are fake shares. Does May acknowledge them? I don't know what you mean by fake shares. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't know what you mean by fake shares, but part of the reason why I think all the Uniswap stuff is a little bit silly is because here's the thing. It looks to me in every single case where I reviewed the tokenization that those things are not a part of the capital structure in any way, shape, or form. Meaning that as a function of that, which I've talked about before, if the only thing that's really happening is this NFT that has nothing to do with any part of the capital structure of AMC, it gives no shareholder voting rights, it gives no potential access to actual shares, but just fake tokenized shares, then you were foolish. I'm just going to say it like it is. It's foolish to buy those to begin with. That would be the same thing as thinking that when you're sports betting at a casino, that the fact that you bet against a team will have anything to do with the performance of that team. It's a joke. So if the issue that you guys have, unless you want to show me the actual structure and how it maps back to capital, then forget it. That's my answer across the board. That is very different if you're talking about options and that have a price and a time. At that price, you either deliver cash or you deliver shares. If you have a swap, that happens at a price and a time. And if it hits whatever is the agreement of that swap, you deliver cash or you deliver shares. On some BS that happens on the on some other exchange, It looks to me like none of them, in no case whatsoever, do you deliver shares. You only at best deliver price. So anytime you guys ask me about that, I will answer it the same way until such a time as someone gives me documentation that demonstrates very clearly that someone has to deliver actual shares. And if they do, actually, I think you should be sending that documentation straight to the SEC, because that 100% should be regulated under the SEC. But thus far, I've seen donut associated with it. Okay, will the QSIP change cause shorts to close? I will address this, but I was going to do another video on this at some point. Here's the deal with QSIP changes. All right, it's really two questions. Whether or not it will cause the shorts to close is one, and then what happens with the QSIP change. I've seen all kinds of strangeness on this, and part of it is because reverse conversions are not common. Okay, so here's the thing: the APE QSIP will go away if you vote yes to the conversion, and at that time, essentially, whatever is the ratio will be what you are short on the shares in AMC. Okay. So the QSIP for APE is going away if the vote happens. And then what then happens to AMC? Because those conversions are not common, I was not able to find a citation as to whether or not the conversion without the reverse split, sans reverse split, okay? I was not able to find a citation that clearly states that the QSIP would change. And I feel like in my past history, when I used to look at the securities master, which is what is actually which tells the broker dealers and literally everybody else how to change the stock, like I feel like I've seen it before where different situations happen, and when you merge together a smaller company into a bigger company, the QSIP does not change on the conversion. However, it is unambiguously true. Unambiguously, this citation, you can Google it, you can find it on both the NASDAQ and the NYSE, that when you do a reverse split, you will 100% have a QSIP change. Now, what does that have to do with whether or not the shorts close, which is the second question? It will still be the case that you end up doing the math for reg show violations, okay? So if it's the case on the conversion that you have the 5 days FTD, then yeah, first of all, if it's the case that you are in violation of reg show, everyone that is in violation of reg show will have to start covering right there. Additionally, and they really have 5 days to do it, that goes back to the video that I already did on that. So take a look. And then again, I still believe that the best way to have any kind of meaningful change on that is to try to get someone that has way more knowledge than me on securities law to actually go in and see if the hypothecation agreement is actually governed under consumer lending practices, which I think that would be, and then realizing that consumer lending practices have much higher fines than SEC related fines. And also with consumer lending violations, you do usually get both a civil and a different, like consumer lending. There's like a couple of different agencies that can get involved, and the money does typically come back as damages to the folks that are damaged, which would be the shareholders. So I definitely put that in the video. It's in that video. It's additionally in the video where I do like the Berkshire Hathaway request. So if that's not clear, please definitely have a look at that. So every brokerage firm is in your naked shorting complaint and are willing to risk being shut down. Here, Model 3 dude. No, naked shorting requires that you actually are naked short, right? So if the broker dealer has a locate on every share that is short at its firm, then it would not be in violation. So it would simply be market makers that are in violation. In other words, essentially, when you go to short, if you're a big institutional desk, but it's also true if you're smaller desk, if you're a smaller person, you just don't see it. But when you go to try to short the shares, if the broker is doing what it's supposed to do, it finds a locate, and it actually at the end of day can tell you were in fact not short the shares. You will get a no confirm. And so there are broker dealers, if they cannot look, it used to be the case. I mean, now clearly, given what's happening with the reg show violations or the reg show compliance silliness, let's call it that, it's clear that something else is happening. But yeah, it's not every broker dealer. First of all, a lot of broker dealers don't even have a stock lending desk. So those broker dealers would not be in violation. And then the ones that are really aggressive about making sure they have a locate and absolutely like can identify that across every share, they would not be in violation. Let's see, conversion and reverse split equals lower float. Okay, yeah, it does equal a lower float, but remember, all these things go by dollar value. This question, all these things go by dollar value. So you just have to see how everything clears at the end of the day and what happens. Let's see. V for Vendetta. Why are we not listening to what she has to say? Okay, for example, if I hold, okay, wait, let me see if I can answer this one, because some of these, if I hold 1,000 at $5 and 1,000 at $2 and the conversion, how many shares of AMC will I now own? Okay, so the 500, the AMC, you will own the 1,000, nothing, or sorry, the 1,000 AMC, nothing should happen. Okay, the 1,000 APE at $2, that's exactly what I'm talking about, which is it's unknown, and it's unknown again. This is the hardest part, guys. So this is why I went ahead and did this particular presentation, because it's unclear. You will either own 1,000 or you will own 0.64 times your 1,000, 640. But right now, it's super unclear given how it's written in the documentation. I formally request for Adam Aaron, if he's watching this, or anyone on his board. This is a real request, okay? Because this is a real place of criticism, that you clarify this very cleanly for shareholders. And if you own APE shares, you're still not in a bad spot, because right now the spread between those two is so wide that the difference is whether it's worth the $5 that AMC is worth, or whether it's worth the conversion that currently exists, which is $3.53. Hopefully that makes sense of all of that. Cut the crap. What's your prediction this week? Because the stock is a mess. All right, look, guys, I am not a day trader, okay? But from time to time on the show, David here, I'll go ahead. He's actually listening in. David and also Richard do more of the day trading type stuff. That's not my deal. I do fundamentals, guys. I try to explain what documents mean, and I try to help clarify where things are unclear, and who's right, who's wrong, what do we know, what do we not know. That's all I got. I'm never going to tell you anything but where I am holding it to. Right now, I'm clearly interested in this 353, but even then, this means I could also absorb if he wanted to raise another 300 million, 500 million. Because if you do $1.74, and even just multiply it by the APE units that he just issued, which still only gets you to, which would still get you to 252, right? So 50% dilution, since he did about a 56%, you still end up raising about $500,000, which is what everybody says he needs anyways, more than what he needs, quite frankly. So that's why this whole thing is interesting to me from December 6th. Now it's interesting to me because there's just a lot of questions. Have you ever dated a hedgie? Well, yes, because I myself was a hedgie. So at one point, but I have not done that work for over 6 years. I have not worked. No, I haven't worked as a hedgie.
David.
Hey, David, here, wait, this one. Okay, so I can't tell if you're asking me. I can't tell if someone's asking me out, Vic Songwriter, if you're a hedge fund guy. I no longer date hedge fund managers because I think they have a certain type of personality that I'm not interested in. Additionally, though, have I ever dated a hedge fund manager? Yes, I have. I live in New York City. I worked in finance. It's not like I never got hit on. Okay, so let's just be honest with what it is. Additionally, I have not worked at a hedge fund or done any consulting work for hedge fund at this point for about 5 years, but it is New York City, and a lot of people enjoy having conversations with me about the fact that I do listen to 400 companies' earnings calls every quarter. So it is very easy for me to have access to certain people, but definitely not Ken Griffith. Okay, it's usually just some analyst that's an old friend of mine that I just talked to. But there's really nothing else other than that. Okay, David, what was your question? Sorry.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. We're long just simply because it seems like it's a pretty creative top. Yeah, he's doing things that I don't know. Some people maybe not, but how can the ape ever go under one?
You know what? You're cutting in and out. What's your question? How can the ape shares go under $1?
Yeah. They're preferred.
Yeah, I mean, they traded below $1 earlier this year. I'm a little bit unclear. What you asking me, David?
Okay. Well, that's because they're preferred stock.
Yeah, they can't be delisted. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I get it. Sorry, you were cutting in and out, so I think the key thing of what you were saying got cut out. Yeah, that is a correction that I pinned to the top. And you guys, if there's like really truly, if people say things in my comments and I'm wrong, you will notice that in all my videos, I'll pin it to the top where the correction is. So please always know that if you send me something, I do actually review it. There is no one else supporting me. It's just me doing me. So I will read all of that stuff. Thank you for, there's some nice comments here. Tell me we are going to the moon. I need some. All right, look, you know what? Like I said, I'm never going to be that person. There are other people that are really good at short squeeze specific trading dynamics. The technicals, David, you were telling me that the technicals look pretty good on AMC. But guys, I'll never, like, I have to, look, the things that I can tell you, I'll tell you, but I'll never like lie to you and I'll never tell you stuff I don't know. If I get it wrong, like I said, I'll pin it as a comment to the top always.
May also, can you ask Senor Puentes, I believe,
What's that?
about
Okay.
he's the market makers, which is that's very important.
Wait, I don't see the question. What does he say?
Well, he says it's the market makers, not the exchanges.
Correct.
Not the
Absolutely correct. That was unclear.
Okay.
Yeah. We skipped a step. So some broker dealers do have a market maker embedded in them. Even though okay, so this is jargon, which I think for us we shortcut sometimes. But a market maker, not every broker dealer has a market maker inside of them, but some broker dealers do. The broker dealer facility is a very specific slice within any bigger company. So that's why sometimes you'll hear it said that way. The actual desk that's responsible for the lending action itself, which exists within a broker dealer, typically in the capital markets function, is the area that should be getting the locate on behalf of both of any market making functions that's being done. So it's it's almost like you need an org chart to be able to see it. So if a broker dealer does not have a stock lending area or does not have any kind of very specific way that it gets to locate from a stock lending facility, then that's not okay. Period. Which one is better to buy right now, APE or AMC? You know what? Okay, I don't know if I gave the disclosure. Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Okay, guys, like this is not investment advice. This is education purposes only. I won't answer this question the way it's stated, which is which one is better to buy right now. What I will say is that I prefer the APE shares personally, and I'm at my max, which I've told you guys before. I have certain specific requirements that I stick to for stocks that are this volatile. For stocks that are less volatile, that are in my retirement count, that I'm never going to ever touch, that's a different thing. But because this is so volatile and I'm just like, look, I don't come from money. All right. I had to make every dollar and scrape it together. And if I lose my money, I have it's a problem because, I'm not getting any younger. Let's just call it what it is. So this should be sized appropriately for anyone, given how volatile it is. However, I've chosen the APE shares for all of the reasons that I've stated since December 6th, which is that even with the dilution, I feel that the APE shares are a bargain. So what do I mean by that? The APE shares, again, are currently trading around $1 here. Let me go to share my screen so it's clear again. The APE shares currently trade The APE shares trade at $1.74. If there's no more dilution of the APE shares, even if you guys vote against the APE you guys, I shouldn't say it like that because some of you are voting the same way I am, some of you are not. But even if the shareholders ultimately decide not to reconvert the shares back to one share AMC, on this math, it would suggest the upside on APE, provided no more dilution, is $3.53. So that spread is the thing, in my opinion, that's causing pressure on AMC. So that spread, so for me, the best way to support AMC as a company and both the APE and AMC shareholders is to close the spread. Okay. That's what I've said. I've been very consistent on that. And, because I think that spread is the gamesmanship, period. Now, the second thing I will say is that because All he did was issue, according to the things I could find. If you can find something else, I want to know. I really do. And I will pin it immediately, because all he did was issue 292.5 million shares. I actually thought that was less than I would have expected him to dilute. So I was fully cool with him doing actually the full 516 million, which is what was stated in the prospectus, and would have brought the share price down to $2.25 from where it currently is. But I think at the time the stock was at $7 and change. Okay. So even if he were to raise the rest of the 500,000 in capital, because there was a refusal to allow him to reverse the conversion, I still, in my opinion, have a buffer on the APE shares versus the AMC shares. So hopefully that answered the question that you had of Houston, Texas. Go Texas. David, you're a Texas native, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we love people from Texas at Grula. So there you go. All right, so hopefully that answered that. Let's see. Were there any others that you saw, David, when you were looking through that we should try to?
Yeah, I want you to be clear on the market versus the naked short seller or the short sellers, because Citadel.
Well, you're coming in and out, David. That's unfortunate, because I know, if anything, since you used to trade on the floor, you probably know this even better.
I want you to be as short sellers. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear it.
As short sellers.
I'm only getting the last part of your sentence for some reason. What is it? So what's the question?
Market makers as short sellers. Here, I'll type it.
Market makers should not be short selling for any reason. Market makers are just market makers. The only time they might end up like, this is what Reg Show was supposed to allow for. Okay, so let's ignore the fact that it's clear when you look at the FTDs that something else is going on. But if they were actually sincerely trying to stay to the spirit of Reg Show, which was what that video was about the other day, right? If they were sincere in their attempts to do it, then you would not see the FTDs always at all times over and above. You would see mostly zero FTDs, zero fail to delivers for most of the days, and then occasionally on days where there were specific news flow or events, you might see it higher than zero. Okay. But since that is absolutely not what we're seeing on the failed to delivers, that's why I'm saying that something is wrong. Very, very wrong. Okay. Now, the major thing that they are supposed to do is either deny the short selling outright, such that they basically, when you try to close out the day, you end up with no confirm. Or alternatively, the other way that you could do it and should do it is raise the borrow rate, like to actually reflect the fact that you don't have the locate. And right now, the borrow rates that I saw were only at like 100, slightly over 100%. If you really wanted to stop Reg Show, that borrow rate should be as high as like 1,000%, which annualized backwards would give you the actual thing that would stop short selling from happening, right? So if the price is moving 30% on craziness on the day, you just take 0.3 and annualize it out to the one, so it's 1.3 to the 365. And that should be the rate that you get to stop the short selling. We're nowhere near that. So there is no way that those borrow rates indicate any kind of attempt to be in line with Reg Show. That's what I was saying on the video. If it's something that you're interested, obviously, I always love it when you guys watch my videos, but that's what I was trying to say. Hopefully that made sense. Did that answer the question, David, or were you trying to tease out a different thought from me?
No, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Everyone is terrified about giving the shorts an out. Okay, let's actually adjust. So given out with the reverse split, this is what everyone wants to know. Can you verify anything with regards to that with the proof? Okay, I did actually, Vic Songwriter, I did actually do that video last week. And I tried to address it there. So definitely reference that, but I am going to also answer your question here, because it's always, I think sometimes there's different, if you just say it a couple different ways, then one of the ways will be more crisp to one audience versus another. The reverse split, it's not the reverse split should have no impact one way or the other on the shorts, except that it forces the conversion of the QSIP. So if you believe that there is an additional procedure that the DTCC goes through it's unclear to me that there is. But if you believe that there's an additional procedure that happens when the QSIP changes, then possibly, okay, I'm not sure. And that is actually what happens. I think all that happens is that if they were, let's say they were in violation of Reg Show and they were on day one of their need to like fix it, right? So right now Reg Show would be 2.5 million shares of AMC. You do the reverse conversion, then it's like whatever short ape is also a problem, and that gets jammed into AMC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you roll them back up. Well, whatever. So you are already day one in violation. So if at the end of all of that rigmarole, you're in violation on day two, then you've got 3 more days to cover it. Technically, you do have less shares. So as long as the people were not selling into the reverse split, such that you could buy them lower, that would be one thing. But what I would say is actually, what could be an issue is that if you have people that do not sell into the reverse split, instead they believe that the price is going to go down, so they're more on net buying into the reverse split, then you should get a pretty aggressive short squeeze to cover the FTDs. Hopefully that made sense. But honestly, I'm just going to say it again. Let the people that are really good at specifically that market dynamic answer that question. I can only tell you the rules as I know them, and then the parts that I don't know. So hopefully that answered that question. The other part of it is the reverse conversion. The reverse conversion has its own weird dynamic as well. If you are playing a spread trade between the APE and the AMC because you're seeing all right, so if you think that the 353 is the number that it should be, $1.74. Some people believe that because they'll get AMC shares that they should short the AMC. But what I want to really highlight, and this is why I am not short AMC, I'm only long APE. Also, I just don't feel like shorting AMC right this minute at all, because I actually am with the apes on this one. I think all of this is silly. But it is because what I'm saying is that this is, I believe it's option one and not option two. Then the idea is that actually both APE and AMC are slightly undervalued. AMC should be like, there should be no dilution if it's option one, because quite frankly, if you go into the quarterly report, you will see that the fully diluted share count is 1 billion, and nothing should change post this if it's option one. If it's option two, that's different. Okay. This is why this needs to be clarified, Mr. Aaron, if you are watching at all, or maybe some of you guys that are closer to Mr. Aaron can get him to watch it. This needs to be clarified because it's really unclear how to think about how the shares should trade on the reverse conversion, at least for me. Maybe there's other people that are way smarter than me, and I'm cool with that. I'm totally willing to accept that, because this is not a typical banking, this is not common to have this type of share difference. Is not normal. It's not something that I've seen regularly. Okay, so maybe just someone smarter than me. I'm super cool with that. Okay, did you see? Oh no, I'm so sorry. Coffee, try sometimes with YouTube, what will happen is they'll set you at a lower resolution on the streaming, and then if you watch the replay, you'll notice that the streaming is a little bit better. Oh, okay. So that's the thing that is also very confusing. Ice cream. Interesting question, but yeah, that's the number I get to as well. I'll show you. Okay, so for me, I'm cool with that because it's just only slightly off, and I basically rounded, so that's cool with me. So I'm at 809. You're seeing 892. That could be the rounding issue. Could be the fee, the selling fee, basically, and some of the other banking fees for all of this transaction in total. But I'm okay with the one. If it's 892, I'm super okay with that. Ice cream, thank you for sharing that. This is what Ice cream is seeing when he looks at the shares outstanding. But as you can see, it's close to my number. It's not so far off. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, thank you, Roscoe. That's awesome. So a lot of people, Roscoe is suggesting what he's seeing is that we should clear that up later next week or early this week. It's got to get approved first. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Roscoe, for posting that. Yeah. What I'm hearing as well is that we should get clarity on the timing next week. It has to do with the 2 tranches that were done in that release related to Antara, because remember, Antara was doing it in 2 tranches, not 1, on the acceptance of the shares. So additionally, what I would say, in case this comment from Roscoe is not clear, and I know Roscoe follows this like an eagle-eyed person, is that again, just in case it's unclear, first the board has to approve putting the vote to the shareholders, and then the shareholders will be issued a proxy statement that they can then vote. And more than one of you has posted this on my comments, so just so you know, you should absolutely, you can find most broker dealers have a section in their settings that deals with getting physical or electronic delivery of the proxy statement. So if you want physical copy of the proxy statement, you can go in to your broker dealer and change your settings so it gets mailed to you. If you are like, no, my broker dealer is really good about the way that they do electronic proxy statements, then just do it that way. If, however, you have owned shares of other things and you have never seen a proxy statement, well, then you should check with your broker dealer on how precisely they're delivering the proxy statement to you. So those are kind of some tips for those of you that are either newer to owning stock or have never ever seen a proxy statement before. That would be the things to check. And then AMC 100 to 1, AMC reverse split 10 to 1. Is that right? No, that's not right, teeny baby doll. It's okay. You guys have the cutest handles. I love that. I wish I'd chosen something adorable like that. No, and I'm going to show that slide. If you scroll earlier to my presentation, you'll see it there. I got to actually jet you guys soon though, because it's Chinese New Year's and the such. But essentially, where you'll find that is on page 18. You will see exactly how the conversion works. So it's 100 AMs. So it's page 18. It's written in words. I wish they wouldn't write things in words because different people are different types of learners. I personally prefer it written this way, which is 100 AMC shares equals 1 preferred share, 1 preferred stock. Okay. And that does not trade. That's what this is all over as far as that 100 shares, la, la, la. And then 1 preferred stock equals 100 APE units. That's the thing that everybody is trading on the APE shares. And then because the preferred is sitting in the middle, it should be 100 AMC to 100 preferred APE units, APE equity units. So just realize that there's actually 3 instruments happening. There's an APE, there's AMC shares, which we all know and love, AMC Classic, if you will. Then there's an AMC preferred stock that sits in the middle, doesn't trade. And then the AMC preferred units. That's the thing that you're seeing on the exchange. And hopefully that will help and clarify out. I just really want to say this. This structure is not normal and typical. And that is why additionally as well on the release, you'll see that he'll state this sentence that may or may not be clear why he's saying it, which is he wants to simplify the capital structure to just make it easier for everybody. Okay, guys, there are a lot of questions, and it is now me needing to get to Chinese New Year's related stuff. I really appreciate you guys watching and supporting me. This week, we'll be doing a lot of regular earnings season stuff during the week. I always cover the stocks in the S&P 500. Hopefully, some of those videos are interesting to you. And then if some of you have not seen my other AMC playlist, if you just randomly found me now, I'll post them later when it's on the replay. I'll just post them on this link that's right here. I always put my hand up so I can do the edits later on the back end. But there is a playlist, and I think at this point I now have like 6 videos on it. I never thought I'd do so many videos at AMC. Anyways, Happy New Year. Check out my AMC playlist if you will.